Good, I guess it's evening, guys, to all of your sunshiny faces. I woke up late today, actually. I'm going to bed early. I think it's early. I don't even know what time it is right now. I was just like, you know what? I finished for the most part. It's 11:15. So it's not super late, but I finished for the most part organizing all of our family photos, a good portion of them. This box I feel like is way too giant. This is still all the loose pictures that I am not completely sure what time frame they go in, because I tried to do everything sort of by time frame, and so if I didn't necessarily know, I didn't end up like sorting them through. So I want to put those in something else, actually, smaller box maybe, because I really don't need anything that big. Also too, guys, my hair is super puffy today and kind of looks a little like crazy. But so I got through that. Everything in this box right now, that is all loose pictures that are not currently in a photo album. I have some underneath the table down here, some photo albums that are not, that are actually empty. So what I'm going to do is, once I have, which I just wanted this stuff like picked up and somewhat put away, because it's been 3 days of having these pictures sitting out. And so like yesterday I probably could have actually put them away, but I still wanted to, like, I didn't have everything in bags. Today I finally got everything in bags. So I've got everything sorted too. And then if it was like a time frame that I knew, like, okay, this one for example, I know it had to have been between 95 and 99 because I was born but Matthew wasn't born yet. But if I don't know the exact year, then I didn't end up adding it. Like if I didn't know for sure that it belonged in the 99 little, you know, thing, the little bag, then I ended up putting it in that bag. So, you know, there's not that many pictures that I don't at least know kind of roughly within 5 years of when it was. But yeah, I got a ton of this stuff organized. I'll be honest, guys, the worst part was all of the professional photos that we've had done. School pictures, sports pictures, just like, you know, especially when I was little. Like my mom stinking used to like get mine, and my picture especially, it seemed like every 3 months. There is an ambulance going down our street. I saw something like in my dad's truck's like light, like mirror, and I was like, where's that coming from? But I swear, my mom, and it seemed like my aunt too, because my aunt would give my mom and my grandma like pictures of my cousins and stuff like that too, when they would go and get like professional photos done. And it was like every 3 or 6 months that like people, is that like really a thing? Like you get your kids' photos taken professionally like every like 6 months. And I totally don't know if that was just like a 90s thing, because like the only thing that like my parents had was a digital camera that didn't take the best quality photos and stuff like that. Whereas like, you know, at a professional photo place, like now like people like, you know, just parents take, you know, the photos of their kids like every month and stuff like that, just like, you know, with those sticky things, or, you know, a different onesie or something like that, like, you know, across the whole, you know, 12 months, or sometimes people do it up to 2 years. But like, yeah, my mom and my aunt, it seemed like, for my cousins, would take like, get our photos like professionally done, you know, like at Walmart photo place or whatever. But you know, like I remember like going there just a ton. They had like at our Walmart, there was a little like photo place like right off of the, you know, the sort of like the exit or the entrance or whatever. And I remember my mom like going to get my photo taken like a lot from there, or like at the mall or something like that, you know, like at an actual photo place, because again too, people didn't have like cameras that were all of that great of quality and could take really good pictures and stuff like that. And obviously too, like sometimes you just want somebody else to take it, so because maybe you're doing a whole family photo shoot or something like that, and so you don't want to be setting it on a timer and stuff. So that, like, you know, like I said, there's a whole huge, like that was the most of the pictures that we seem to have had. Like, you know, I had pictures from when I was like a couple weeks old all the way up to when I was, you know, several years old. We had pictures done through our church again too, just like for Matthew, Jack, and myself. I only actually think I had 3, like I don't even know if I had 7th grade pictures done. I know I had 8th grade, 6th grade and 2nd grade, because I was only in school in 2nd grade, 6th grade, and then middle school, high school my freshman year, not my sophomore year, and then my junior and senior year. It was always like you had to order the pictures online and stuff like that, and I don't think we ever ended up doing that for like what's it called, for high school. I haven't done it. Matthew hasn't done it. I don't think Jack did it either. But like in elementary school, they used to always give you the packet and send it home, and then if you forgot to bring it back to school or, you know, whatever, then you wind up getting charged for it. But like most of the times my parents would just be like, oh, since they sent it home, we'll just buy it or whatever. And the same thing too with, I think, maybe with the football pictures too. Like you could order them if you wanted to, maybe you didn't have to, but you know, so like you figured that in. Matthew played football, he played basketball one year, he played volleyball I think one year. I think maybe he played 2 years of volleyball in middle school. They gave him pictures, or you know, like he bought pictures through the school or whatever. But he had like a lot of sports pictures on top of that, just regular school pictures. So like I said, there's like, that is what we have probably like not the most of, but it just takes up the most space because there's so many copies. And it seemed like my parents like never gave them out to like enough people. Like they have so many extra copies. Like, you know, some of them are clipped away. Like, you know, my mom might have given them to my grandma, but then I told you too, if my grandma passed away, we got all her pictures. So we got like, I was looking through too, and I was like, we have like triples or like in duplicates of like my cousins and stuff like that I'm sure like my mom got a copy of and my grandma got a copy of, so we have like multiple copies of. And so yeah, but there was that was what we had the most of. It's like, you know, like I said, like that professionally done sort of photos. It wasn't just like, oh, we're going to the zoo, we're going to take some pictures. It's like we went and we got dressed up for something, or they were school pictures, or you know, whatever. So and we had them done for our church too one time because of like they were doing it for the directory, and like, you know, you could actually order the pictures too. So there was one year that we did that. There was, like I said, there was a lot. My first, well, no, I was born in 95. Since I was born in November, I guess it was actually my second Christmas. But once I was a year old, my parents did like a Christmas sort of photo shoot too. And there was a ton of pictures from that as well. So we have, like I said, a ton of pictures that are mainly from like what seems like that. I mean, obviously my parents just took a ton of regular pictures like on a daily basis sort of thing, but oh my goodness, guys, it has been a mess to try and go through. I went through almost all of the photo albums too because it was bothering me that they were so out of order. Like, I'd be flipping through and like my parents' wedding is mixed in with my first birthday and like the Matthew's first birthday, and I was like, okay, all this stuff is like within a decade apart of each other, you know. And so like flipping through, you don't see that continuity sort of, or like the progression either of like, you know, what was going on. Like, look, oh, I'm getting bigger, you know, now my mom's pregnant with Matthew or something like that. Like, oh, now Matthew's born, you know, like that whole kind of thing. Like, you don't see the continuity in that. And like I said, the progression sort of too is like just like so random and all over the place. The worst were my grandma's photo albums, which I completely ended up reorganizing. But my mom's were also not that great either. Like, there was, like I said, stuff that was like clearly my second birthday was mixed in with my first birthday stuff, and I was like, okay, this is all kind of out of order. Coming home from the hospital or my baptism or something like that too were all mixed in together, and it looked like I said, it was just kind of, I wanted to reorganize everything. So I have 2 boxes now. Well, I guess 2 boxes and a shoe box. I showed you guys when I started 3 days ago, I had 3 big boxes worth of stuff. And I've condensed it down somewhat, but I still have got a couple of back there, actually, because I was sitting in my chair going through all this stuff. Those photo albums, which I want to say, one of them I did completely go through. It looks like there's maybe 4 to 5 more photo albums that I still need to go through, which is not nearly as much as I have, and they look like they're thinner ones too. 2 of them that I went through today like had like probably held over like 300 photos or something like that. It was crazy, and I was like, okay, this is kind of ridiculous. Like, there was so many pictures in there. Like I said, those were the ones that were all out of order too. It was driving me absolutely crazy that, like I said, everything was all over the place. So my next goal, which I'm not going to do anytime probably real soon, would be to digitally scan all of the pictures in as well, because we have no digital copies of any of these photos, and some of them too have suffered, I don't know if it's really water damage, but like they might have gotten wet somehow or something like that, so they did get a little sticky and like actually stuck together. So some of them are kind of like, you know, there's things sort of that got like torn apart or torn off, and or they just got, you know, like left upstairs loosely in the attic and got stepped on, or, you know, like I said, kind of, you know, it was just, we had it in a box and it was like a cardboard box. The box eventually ended up breaking and the pictures kind of ended up all over the place. And then, you know, I feel like personally totes are better because they're plastic, and eventually cardboard breaks down over time. So that's why I don't want to leave it in this big shoe box. I want to get in a smaller one and be able to put it in here. That would be my goal. So that's for one of them. But then again too, like I said, scanning all of them and, you know, actually have digital copies of them would be really nice. All of these pictures, like I said, are all, you know, very meaningful pictures. A lot of them are duplicates because my parents did wind up getting like 2 copies when they did photos a lot of times, because again, if it was like me with my cousins, then my mom would be like, oh, here, you know, like here's a copy, because it was, you know, give it to my aunt because it was with my cousins or something. So there was a lot of that too. Like I noticed, I started to figure out which one was our like camera based on the timestamp on the bottom versus which one was their camera based on the timestamp at the bottom, because it looked a little bit more digitalized. And so I could tell, and I was like, oh, this is probably a picture that my aunt gave us, you know, because they had my cousins in it, or it was at like their house or something like that, and it was a picture of me or Matthew or something. So you know, or some type of party that we were having or whatever. So yeah, like I said, as I was going through that, I started figuring that stuff out. But yeah, I think it's really important to me that all of the pictures stay in pretty pristine condition too, because I do have a lot of photos actually in here. These ones are all from before 1970. I actually have pictures that date back all the way to the 30s of my great grandparents, and so, and then like my grandma in the 50s and stuff like that, in the 60s. So anything really, because my mom was born in 70, so anything before she was born I have in there, and there's not a lot, but they're, again, photos that, like, you know, my aunt might have copies of them too, but they're ones that are, like I said, pretty important, and want to make sure that those, you know, nothing winds up happening to those, because those are, you know, probably some of the only pictures that exist of some of these people too, because they're so old, you know, and they're, you know, like I said, my great grandparents, who I don't even know that my mom knew, now that I'm thinking about it. You know, so yeah, I think, yeah, I know my grandma's grandma died when she was little, and I think her other grandma also died when she was like maybe a teenager or something like that. So I don't think my mom knew either of them, like on her side. And so those are, you know, like I said, some of the only pictures, you know, that probably they had was because it was between, like, you know, 30s and 50s really, that, you know, like I said, that we have pictures of from them. So maybe into the 60s. I don't really know. I'd have to check on Ancestry to figure that out. But I do know one grandma. I know one of my grandma's passed away when she was like really little, like 4 or 5, and like from what my aunt always said was that like my grandma was like just devastated by it. Like it really was like really hard for her. And so again though, some of those pictures are like, you know, there's not, you know, not too many of them exist anyway, so I don't want anything to happen to them. And again too, I mean, we have a ton of pictures of like, you know, from when I was little, from when Matthew was little and stuff like that, but like, you know, if we lost all of my, you know, first birthday or Matthew's first birthday or christening or coming home from the hospital or something like that, you know, that would be also pretty devastating and sad. And I am like 99% sure that there's still a couple of more albums somewhere in the attic, because Matthew had an actual baby book, like from like, you know, kind of like throughout my mom's pregnancy and also like when he was born and stuff like that. And I know what that one looks like. I don't have it. And then his baby book, which was like more of like when he was like 1 year to 2 years old, which I do have, and I went through that one and reorganized it also. And then there's another one too from when Jack was little, and it was like a Pooh Bear one, and I think that was kind of a hybrid because it was a bigger book, like Matthew's like pre sort of baby book and like early baby book was like it was a shorter one, so I think that's why my mom also did a second one, and the same for me too. Because my first one was like a smaller album. But then Jax was, I think, a little bit bigger, so all of his stuff, and my parents kind of stopped taking like actual pictures with film around that time too. Like everything started to become a little bit more digital. But anyways, his album too, I think he has a Pooh Bear one and it's missing too, and I'll be honest, I have not seen it in a really long time. Like, I wonder if somebody took it because they were like, you know, my mom took it because she wanted to get pictures out of it for something, or like, I'm trying to figure out like why that might be. But I definitely know that like there's a couple of albums that I'm like, I think we're missing some of these. So I've still got, like I said, some work to do, but at this point I feel confident and safe putting this stuff back up in the attic and still being like, oh, I can kind of just pick up where I left off and not feel like I lost all my progress, because everything is at least sort of in this stuff. But I can go through a little bit more and like with a fine-tooth comb of, like I was saying, like stuff I'm not sure if it's between 95 and 99. I could probably figure that out. And I've been using context clues, like if there was a picture of like the outside in the background, like were there leaves on the trees at that time, like what time of the year might it have been, and you know, like what type of clothing was I wearing, because I could probably figure out like, oh, if I was wearing that, then it was probably like when I was 1 or 2 or something like that. So, and then to figure out like what time of the year was it too, because I was like, oh well, maybe, you know, this was a time when my mom had the camera out actually, because they were taking pictures for something. And so, you know, I'd be like, oh, maybe that was like for Halloween, but then I'm in regular clothing. So, you know, if I see like, oh, there's like a pumpkin in the background or something like that, oh, that was probably from Halloween, and I look like I was like a year old, so maybe that was in like 96 or something like that. So I've been slowly trying to piece together some of the things and have been able to figure out when kind of that stuff goes. But I can't wait to digitalize everything, because then it's just going to be like flip through all of the photos like sort of at once and be able to see like that whole progression. Would be really cool, because it's kind of hard to do when you have like all physical copies. You can't just sort of, other than in an album, which clearly, like I said, all of ours are not in albums, you know, and some of them too, like I said, is kind of split. Like some of Matthew's baby pictures are in the album, some are actually loose pictures, so it's kind of a little all over the place. So that's why, like, that would be one of my, like I said, main goals, is to get all that stuff sort of organized. But yeah, that's definitely a project for another day. And I think I want to use my mom's scanner, like on her printer, because it's a little bit more updated than mine, and mine makes things look a little bit pixely because it's several years old. Like, not, I don't know if it's necessarily a decade old, but it's kind of a little old. And so I want to try and get, you know, make them look as new and sort of fresh as possible. Like, you know, like I said, sort of digitally wise and not really pixelated. And I want it to have like the best scanning capabilities too, and all of that. So that's why I think I might use hers. But because she actually has it on a like the cabinet in her office, you can't really like lift the lid up, so it would take a really long time to try and go through all that. So I might want to take it actually out of her office and like just sit in here one day and just keep scanning photos all day long, or something like that. So anyways, guys, I'm gonna go actually get to bed early tonight, so I'll see you all in tomorrow's vlog. If you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give a big old thumbs up. If you guys are new, we'd love it if you'd subscribe, and I'll see all of our sunshiny faces tomorrow. So bye, guys.